Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Fanfics 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto inherited a dragon bloodline and Kushina was alive? Part 1. And if you enjoyed this fanfic then please give me hype instead of comment and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. October 10th QB Festival . It was dark in the village of Konoha. The streets were lighting up and the villagers were celebrating the day the QB was defeated. A group of ninja wearing black hooded cloaks with a white dragon on the back of them were walking through the busy streets. 3 however had their hoods down revealing their faces. One was a man who was 6 feet 0. He had long brown hair that was tied into a ponytail, deep green eyes, and a tan-like complexion. He also had a scar on his left cheek. He was Joe Hayabusa, the Shiryu, White Dragon, of the Hayabusa village and leader of the second Dragon Clan branch. He's ranked as an S-class Inyong with a flea on sight order and was the only ninja capable of going toe-to-toe with the Yellow Flash and lived to tell about it. The man was calm, wise, loyal, trustworthy, and powerful. Walking beside him was his wife, Shisha Hayabusa, the Kuroi Tenshi, Black Angel, of the Hayabusa village. She was 5 feet 8 and without a doubt the most beautiful woman ever to be seen. She had long flowing black hair that stopped to the middle of her back, deep blue eyes, the face of an angel, and flawless ivory-colored skin that seemed to glow in the moonlight, giving her the appearance of a goddess. Holding her hand was her 6-year-old son Yu Hayabusa. He appeared to be a younger version of his father, only his hair was in a shorter ponytail and had a tan complexion. He was wearing a black ninja gi outfit with a dragon at the location of where his heart is. They were heading to the Hawkeye Tower to discuss the new treaty. As they passed an alley, a scream was heard. "To-san, Ka-san, what was that?" Young Yu asked. Joe looked into the dark alley only to see a mob made up of civilians and shinobi that were Chunin and Junin beating on a blonde-haired boy who wore a dirty white t-shirt and blue shorts with bats, clubs, beer bottles, and to his shock kunai while screaming, "Kill the demon and avenge the Yondaime." Shisha's eyes widened in horror when she saw this. What kind of monsters do this to a child? She thought and saw a Chunin raise a katana in the air while grinning like a madman. "Die, QB brat," he yelled as he started to bring the blade down while everyone cheered. "Joe-kun, stop him," she cried. Joe's eyes become slitted and he vanishes and appears between the Chunin and the blonde boy who was trying to protect himself with his bleeding arms. Joe then punches the shocked Chunin hard in the stomach, breaking a few of his ribs and sends him flying out of the alley and into an ice cream cart. Shisha orders one of the hooded Inyong to take you away from this and he nods, taking the young dragon with him while the others deal with the mob. Said mob was backing away while the other hooded dragon Inyong appeared behind Joe and around the blonde boy with their backs turned at the boy who was whimpering and trembling in fear while having their swords drawn. Shisha then appeared in front of the blonde and kneels down. The blonde boy had tears falling from his blue eyes and his lip was quivering. Don't hurt me. Please, I was only hungry and wanted some food," he said. Shisha's eyes soften and she smiles at him. "It's okay child, I'm not here to hurt you," she says, and her hands glow white and she places them on his small arms. He flinches a little from the contact but relaxes while she treats his injuries. Joe watched this from the corner of his eye and smiles. He turns his eyes back to the villagers and releases a huge amount of murderous intent on them. "What do you fools think you're doing?" he roared while they sweated heavily from the murderous intent this man was releasing. That's when one idiot civilian spoke up. "We were trying to avenge our leader by killing the demon brat," he answered. Joe's eye narrowed and looked back at the boy. Then he looked at the villagers who were hoping he would understand reason and kill the boy. "Wow, what a bunch of fools. I see no demon. All I see are a bunch of short-minded fools. Now leave before I kill you all," he growled in a deep dark voice while they backed away. But the demon," a Junin said, only to have 3 shuriken enter his skull and hit the ground dead. Joe was the one who threw them and his eyes glowed. "I won't tell you again. Leave while you have your limbs intact," he said in a dark tone, making them run away. Joe's eyes return to normal once they're gone and he doesn't sense any Inyong around. The dragon Inyong that were protecting Shisha and the blonde boy relaxed and sheathed their swords. Shija just finished healing his legs and asked him to take off his shirt. He was reluctant at first, but he did, and a gasp escaped her mouth. "Oh my Kami," she whispers. The boy was so skinny he could see his bones and ribs outlined. He also had cuts, bruises, burns all over. Joe and the other dragon Anyong saw this and couldn't help but feel sorry for the poor boy. After treating those injuries, she turns him around to heal his back and notices a red mark that was hidden under his blonde hair. She blinks in confusion and pushes it up, and her eyes widened. "I don't believe it. Kushina-sama's son has been alive this whole time." But the Sendaime said that he died when Minato-kun sealed the Kyuubi no Kitsune into him. He lied. That old monkey lied to her. When Kushina finds out, this village will be done for. She'll see to it personally. "Joe-kun, could you come here please?" she asks her husband. Joe nods and walks over to where she and the boy are. He kneels down and looks at the back of his head, and his eyes widen in shock. "Shija-chan, that's," he started to say, and she nodded while her eyes became cold. That fool lied to her. How could he do this? After all Minato and our clan has done for this village. He told her he died during the sealing. Does he have any idea what he's done? When she finds out that he's alive, Konoha will be finished. She whispers to him. Joe grunted in agreement. He may be strong, but Kushina was not someone you'd want to have as an enemy or piss off. He then pulls out a scroll and hands it to her. "Get him out of those rags and have him put the clothes that are in the scroll on." He then stands up and looks at the hooded ninja. "Kenji, Oshi, Shira," he said while three of them appeared before him on one knee. They removed their hoods, revealing two males and a female. Kenji had reddish-orange hair that was in a ponytail and violet eyes. Oshi had shoulder-length bluish-black hair and grey-colored eyes. Shira had violet-colored hair and red eyes. "Sir," they said in unison, "you three are coming with me to the Hokage Tower. The rest of you stay with my wife, son and the boy. If anyone tries to harm the blonde boy, kill them," he commanded while the ones in the hooded cloaks nodded. "Let's go," he said to Kenji, Oshi, and Shira, who nodded, and they vanished from the alley. Shija bites her thumb, drawing blood from it, and smears it on the scroll. The seal glows a little, and in a puff of smoke, a dark blue ghee that was similar to Yu's appeared. She then turns to the blonde child, who blinked at her confusingly. "Here, young one, put this on. You don't want get sick now, do you?" she asks in a soothing tone. The blonde nods and takes off the shorts and puts on the ghee. She smiles at him and asks, "What is your name, young one?" "Naruto Uzumaki, miss," he says, and she answers, "Shija Hayabusa. It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto-kun," she says. Naruto looks down at the ground, which causes her to give him a concerned look. "Are you okay, Naruto-kun?" she asked while Naruto shifted his feet nervously. "Why are you being so nice to me? Almost everyone in this village hates me, beats me, or they say I am a monster who kills innocent people," he said quietly. She frowns but places her hands in his shoulders. "You're not a monster, Naruto-kun. These people are just a bunch of fools who can't tell the difference between one and the other. Would you like to meet my son, Yu?" she asks, and he nods. "Come on then, let's get out of this dirty alley," she says, and gets up. She then holds out her hand to him, and he takes it, making her smile as she led him out of the place into the village. The hooded ninja follow her from behind. They notice the villagers were glaring at Naruto and calling him a demon brat, and that the Hokage should have killed the creature when he was born. The hooded Anyong twitched their fingers as they heard this. Naruto held Shija's hand a little tighter. She notices this and sees the looks the villagers were giving him and releases her own murderous intent at them, making the fool stop and tremble at her icy gaze. They then find themselves in the park where Yu was practicing some hand seals the hooded dragon Anyong was showing him. He saw his mother and the other Anyong approaching with a blonde Anyong and runs up to her. "Ka-san, I finally got 3 seals down. Where's Tu-san and who is he?" he asked, looking at Naruto with curiosity in his eyes while said blonde was looking at him nervously. Shija looks down at her son and smiles. "Yu-kun, this is Naruto-kun. Naruto-kun, this is Yu-kun, my Sochi," she answers. Yu holds his hand out for a handshake and smiles. "Nice to meet you, Naruto. I'm Yu Hayabusa," he replies. Naruto decides to do the same and shakes Yu's hand. "It's nice to meet you, Yu." he said with a small smile on his face. Shija couldn't help but smile. They've only met for a few seconds and they're already bonding, she thought while she watched you lead Naruto to a sakura tree and talk. Equals at the Hokage Tower equals. Hiruzen Sarutobi was sitting in his chair doing some paperwork while wondering if Naruto was doing okay. He hated the fact that he had to lie to Kushina about her son, but Naruto was a Jinchuriki of Konoha and the last Namikas and he had to stay no matter what. It's what Minato would want, can you say retard? He continued to do his paperwork until the door was knocked off its hinges, shocking the professor, and from the other side came Joe Hayabusa along with Kenji, Oshi, and Shira, and the man was not happy. Joe Hayabusa, what can I do for you? Hiruzen asked while the man's frown grew. You can start by explaining, he said in a low tone. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow at the dragon Anyong. I'm not sure I understand your meaning, Joe-san. Explain what? He asked, only to feel murderous intent coming from the man. You can explain why the true heir of the Hayabusa is in the village being treated like a dog and why you lied to Kushina-sama about her son being dead. Exclamation mark quote. He yelled at the last second while his eyes became slitted and glowed. Hiruzen's eyes widened in shock and a bead of sweat fell from the side of his head. Oh no, how did he find out? I must do something or the village will lose the last Namikas, he thought. I'm afraid I don't know what you are talking about, he started to say but was cut off when Joe smashed the desk, leaving an imprint of his fist in it. Don't lie to me, old monkey. That boy is Kushina and Minato's son, because he had the mark of a red dragon on him and he looks just like Minato, if you take away the whisker marks. Do you have any idea what Kushina will do when I tell her the truth about her son? He says, making the old man gulp a little. Do you have any idea what the Yu Anyong, or Dragon Anyong, will do when they find out that their future leader was hidden from THM by the very village they've been allies with since the founding and that he's been beaten near death? They will raze this place to the ground and kill every single person in this village. If Kushina-sama doesn't, she'll do it herself. He yelled. Please Joe-san, you have to understand, he's the last Namikas in the village and his father wanted him to be recognized as a hero to the village. I can't just let you take the boy. He's a citizen of Konoha and falls under the village's jurisdiction, he said, hoping this would work but only made the man more furious. I see. Perhaps I should send a letter to the fire daimyo and Kushina-sama about this and let them solve the problem when they get here. I'm sure you'd love to explain to the ruler of Fire Country and to one of the most dangerous kunoichi in the world, why Konoha is going to war with an ally due to the fact that you not only interfered in foreign ninja clan affairs, but lied to said clan leader and Cage about her child's so-called demise, and kept him here to be beaten like a dog. He replied in a deep dark tone that made Sarutobi pale and inwardly sweat. We still haven't fully recovered from the Kyuubi attack and the Yu ninja are well known and feared throughout the elemental nations. They are even hired bodyguards for the daimyo. If they remove their Anyong from his ranks because of our actions, then we'll be finished. But Naruto is the last Namikas of the village and we can't just give him up. What do I do? He ranted in his mind as he tried to think of an alternative. Seeing no other choice, he sighs in defeat. Very well, Joe-san. I will hand Naruto over to you, he starts to say until Joe interrupts him. And his father's inheritance and jutsus as well as the forbidden scroll that Minato created, he said, getting a shocked look from Sarutobi. I can't do that, Joe-san, because I am well aware of Iwa, but you forget that Minato left everything he owned to Kushina-sama and any children they have. And if you don't, then consider our alliance with Fire Country finished. He replied but was getting to the point where he'll kill Hiruzen, who let out another sigh. Fine, just let me get everything. He then gets up and heads to the Hokage's vault. He returns with 3 large scrolls. One contained the Namika's clan's currency. The other one contained all the jutsu they ever created and their fighting style. And the last one was the forbidden scroll of sealing. This is everything, Joe-san. Is there anything else? He asked. No, you've done enough already. You and this village have caused nothing but trouble and pray that I can convince Kushina-sama not to declare war on Konoha due to the stupidity of the leader and his followers, he said with anger etching off his voice. Sarutobi flinched from those words and looked down in shame while Joe and his ninjas left the tower. Hiruzen then looked at the picture frame that held Minato's picture in it. It was like he was glaring at the old man for failing to protect his son. Minato, I'm sorry I couldn't protect Naruto, he thought while looking at the destroyed door and had the secretary send a maintenance worker to fix it. Konoha Park equals. Shizue had a smile on her face when she saw Yu showing Naruto how to perform hand seals which he mimicked. Yu also told him about the Hayabusa village and that it was a village on the other side of the world. She then saw her husband and his 3 Inyong walking towards them with 3 large scrolls. She walks over to him and looks up at her koi lover. So how did it go, Joe-kun? She asked while he smiled at her. It went well, Shizue-chan. Naruto will be coming back with us. He won't have to stay in this godforsaken place ever again. I just hope I can convince Kushina-sama not to destroy Konoha after this. I wouldn't wish her wrath on even my worst enemy. Quote, he replied while his brow twitched at the thought of an angry Kushina. Whenever he saw her angry or pissed, he ends up seeing the form of the Shinigami hovering over her head and pointing at her victim. Shuzu giggled when she saw him shake his head and looked over her shoulder to see Yu and Naruto doing hand seals and smiles. I see Naruto and you have developed a bond already, he said while his wife looks at the two and nods. Yes, it appears so. Naruto-kun, Yu-chan, come over here please. She spoke out and the 2 6-year-olds ran up to her. Naruto-kun, this is my husband Joe Hayabusa. He's the leader of the Hayabusa clan, she said. Naruto looked at the man and bowed. Thank you for saving me, Joe-san, he said while the leader smiles and nods. You are welcome, Naruto, he said and paused for a few minutes and asked, Naruto, how would you like to come back with us to the Hayabusa village? He asked the young boy who looked up at the man with a surprised look. You won't have to worry about being treated badly or glared at. Unlike this village, ours doesn't judge a book by its cover. You'll also be able to make friends there as well as hang out with you here as long as you want. So what do you say, Naruto Uzumaki? Would you like to join our village and maybe be a ninja for the village? He asked. Naruto just looks at him in shock. He can finally be happy and be in a place where he won't get beaten or glared at. He did had few after all. He then nods while wiping away his eyes. Joe smiles at him. Okay, we have to leave now. Naruto, is there anything you need to get before we go? Joe asks while Naruto just shakes his head. Alright then, let's go everyone, he orders and they nod. Shizue took Naruto and Yu's hands in hers and they leave the village. During the travel back home on the boat, Joe talked to Naruto and told him everything. About his inheritance, how his father Minato Namika sacrificed his life to seal the fox into him, how the old man lied to his mother saying that he died during the sealing, and that he was the true heir of the Hayabusa clan and he had a twin sister who looked like her mother. Naruto was an emotional wreck when he was told this and hated Sarutobi for lying to him whenever he asked about his family and letting those people in Konoha treat him like trash. Shizue managed to calm the poor boy down and told him that he won't have to go through that anymore. But when he realized that he had a mother and sister, he was happy yet worried that she'd reject him. Shizue saw this and said, Naruto-kun, I highly doubt Kushina would abandon you even if you're the container for the Kyuubi. Naruto looked at and nodded but still couldn't help but hope she was right. Then Joe spoke up. What surprises me is why she would attack the village in the first place. Kyuubi is normally neutral when it comes to human affairs and she wouldn't attack a village unless said ninja from the village provoked her into attacking or that she was being controlled or she was trying to get rid of an EVL threat, Joe replied, getting a shocked look from Naruto. But I thought the Kyuubi was an evil demon, Naruto said, but Joe shook his head. I'm afraid that's not true, Naruto. Kyuubi is a spirit of nature, a guardian of the mortal realm, and only appears when a great evil threatens the earth. She's also well known to the dragon, ninja and was around to assist our ancestors in defeating the dark dragon, but that's for another time. He answers and sees a mass of land from the boat. Ah, it appears we'll be porting soon, he said as the boat heads for a dock. After the ship stopped at the docks, Joe had the 3 scrolls strapped to his back and moved forward into the forest with the dragon and Yong flanking him. Shizue, Naruto, NDU. So, Yu, what's the Hayabusa village like? The blonde asks while Yu thought about it and answered. Well, for one thing it's big. We don't have a large gate that surrounds it like the other hidden villages do, because we are not a hidden village. We also have ninja that are ranked like the ones in the elements. We also use ninjutsu, taijutsu, fuinjutsu, kenjutsu, and genjutsu, but we mostly excel in stealth, espionage, assassination, and interrogation. He said. Wow, so does the village have a ninja academy? Naruto asked, and that's when Joe answers. No, we don't, Naruto, we prefer to train our ninjas separately, but we do set them up in squads and a leader by their skills and not through meaningless titles like Rookie of the Year, or Kunoi Chi of the Year, or Dead Last, because that is insulting and ruins the way a squad cooperates. We also have a shinobi and civilian council that is separate and not joined. Also the Ukage, Dragon Shadow, who your mother is, has the final say in anything. Quote, he answered while Naruto nods. When they entered the village, Naruto couldn't believe what he was seeing. The village was huge. The buildings were larger than the ones in Konoha and the streets were filled with civilians and ninja. As they walked through the village, Naruto noticed that when the civilians and shinobi looked at them, they either smiled or bowed. There was not even one glare from them. He also saw shinobi parents training their children in the ninja arts. They continued to walk until they came to a large Japanese castle that was surrounded by compounds. The place was bigger than the Hokage Tower. On top of the castle was the statue of a red dragon with golden eyes, ruby red scales, a golden underbelly, spines, claws, and horns, and it had its head raised and its maw open, revealing a row of ivory white teeth. It appeared to be roaring at the sky. Naruto said only one thing. Wow, he said, looking at the dragon while Joe chuckled. Yes, even now I can't help but be amazed by the appearance of the statue that represents our village. He said as they continued to walk into the compound district. Once they reached the Uzumaki compound, Joe dismissed the dragon and Young while Shisha took Yu with her to the Hayabusa compound to get some rest. Joe and Naruto approached the door of the Uzumaki compound, but Naruto was a little nervous and scared. He was going to meet his mother and sister for the first time. Joe looked at Naruto, who was fidgeting, and placed a hand on the boy's shoulders to calm him down. Relax, Naruto. Your mother is a kind person and is respected and loved by everyone in the village. He said softly. Naruto lets out a sigh as Joe opens the slide door and they walk in. The inside was decorated with paintings of dragons and weapons. There were also statues of dragons lined up through the hallways. As they walked through the hallways, they came to a stop at a door that had a red swirl on one side and a dragon on the other. Naruto, get behind me. I want to surprise your mother. He whispered to him. He nods and gets behind him as he knocks on the door carefully. Enter. A voice said that Naruto thought sounded like an angel. Joe then opens the door and enters the room with Naruto behind him. It appeared to be a meditation room since it was plain but did have plant life and a small water fountain in it. In the middle of the room was a woman who seemed to be 5 feet 8. She had long flowing red hair, ivory-colored skin, and the figure of a goddess. She was wearing a crimson-colored ninja training gi with a coiling golden dragon on the back. She was sitting in a lotus position with her back turned to Joe. Kushina-sama, Joe said with a bow, making the woman sigh. Joe, how many times do I have to tell you to only call me that during meetings? She asks without looking at him while he chuckles. Old habits die hard, Kushina. He says with a smile but then gets serious. Kushina, I have some very important news to tell you, and it's regarding your son. He said, causing Kushina's eyes to open up instantly. She then gets up and looks at Joe with a serious look. Joe, we both know that my Sochi died along with Minato Koi, so why would you bring this subject up knowing how I feel about it? She asks with eyes full of sorrow. Because he didn't die with his father, Kushina. Sarutobi lied to you and he's been alive living in that village for the last 6 years. He answered, saying village with venom in his voice. Kushina's eyes were wide and her mouth was open but no words came out of it. I took him out of the village and also got the clan scrolls that belong to Minato, including the one that contains the Hiraishin and the forbidden scroll that he created. He says, pulling the 3 scrolls from his back and placed them on the floor. Your son is right behind me too. Come on out, Naruto, he said, and a blonde 6-year-old who looked like a miniature version of Minato walked out in front of Joe and looked up at his mother. Kushina looked down at Naruto while her eyes became moist and tears formed in her eyes. "And Naru-chan," she replied while Naruto smiled at her and walked up to Kushina grabbing her hand. "Ka-san," was all he could say because she scooped him up in her arms and hugged him to her body while sobbing. "Gee, uncontrollably. My baby's still alive. I'm so sorry Naru-chan. I'm so sorry for not looking for you. Please forgive me," she said as she held even closer. Naruto wrapped his arms around his mother's neck and laid his head on her chest while he cried silently. Kushina was crying tears of joy muttering, "My baby," over and over. Joe smiled at the scene and left Kushina and her son alone so that they could catch up. After that little scene, Kushina wipes her tears away with her arm and takes a good look at her son. "You look just like your father, Naru-chan," she said while Naruto blushed and then looked at her. "Ka-san, Joe-san said that the QB was sealed into me by Two-san but told me that he wasn't an evil demon. Why did he attack Konoha then?" Naruto asked. He asked while Kushina frowned and thought about it. "Honestly Sochi, I don't know. QB is a spirit of nature and wouldn't attack the village unless he had a reason to. So tell me, how was your life in Konoha for the last 6 years?" She asked but noticed the frown on his face and he started to tell her everything. How the adults would beat him on his birthday and made their children stay away from him, how he had to eat out of garbage cans and only eat at a rain and stand, and that he was overcharged for clothes and food and that he was kicked out of the orphanage when he was 4. To say Kushina was pissed would be an understatement. She was beyond livid or pissed. Her eyes went from blue to a golden yellowish orange color with a tint of red on them and her pupils became slitted. She growled, baring her teeth and the top ones extended into fangs. "Those bastards. I'll kill them. I'll raze the damn village to the ground and rip Sarutobi apart with my bare hands." The Yukit said in a dark tone that'll make Orochimaru run away crying like a little girl. Naruto noticed this and placed a hand on her cheek to try and calm her down. "Don't let them get to you, Ka-san. They're not worth it. They didn't honor Two-san's dying wish," Naruto said, which caused Kushina to calm down and her eyes and teeth returned to normal and looked down at her son who smiled at her. "She does the same but sighs. You're right Naru-chan, they're not. I'm sorry if I scared you," she said while she sat down Indian style with her son on her lap. "Scared me? That was cool what you did. Will I be able to do that?" he asked with a huge smile on his face. Kushina couldn't help but laugh at her son. "Yeah, you will once you activated our family's Kekkei Genkai bloodline limit," she said, getting a confused look from her son. "Kekka what?" he asked while she had to hold in a laugh by biting her lower lip as Naruto blinked a few times and tilted high his head to the left. "Kawaii, he looks so cute when he's confused," she squealed in her mind as a chibi form of her jumped up and down squealing. Kushina was about to say something but the door opened and a 6-year-old girl with red hair and an ivory complexion like her mother walked in. She also had blue eyes and wore a red gi like her mother's. She saw her mother holding a blonde boy in her arms and blinked in confusion. "Ka-san, who is that boy you were holding?" the red-headed girl asked. Kushina and Naruto looked at her and Naruto's eyes widened. That was his twin sister and she looked just like Kushina. Kushina smiled and motioned her to come over and she did while staring at the blonde boy. "Suki-chan, this is Naruto, your twin brother. He's been alive this whole time and was brought back by Joe," she replied. Suki's eyes went wide when she saw her brother who was rubbing the back of his head nervously. She went from shock to having a huge grin on her face. "Naruto ni," she squealed and tackled her brother and mother to the ground. Kushina managed to get back up only to see Suki hugging or squeezing her older twin who went from his tan color to blue. "Ni-chan, I can't breathe," he struggled to say while Kushina giggled and then laughed at her children. The sun's rays shined down on Naruto's face which caused him to squint a few times. He turned in his bed and blinked a few times before opening his eyes. He woke up to see that he was in a large room that had different kinds of things in it. There were some pictures of his mother and father when they got married and some where they were teenagers. There were some of his mother and her side of the family in Whirlpool before it was destroyed. Even Konoha dishonored the Uzumaki clan. On the walls were paintings of different colored dragons, each shooting different colored fire or another element. There were also statues of golden dragons lining up the walls. He also had toys and plastic weapons like shuriken, kunai, and ninjatos that were in a black wooden box, and next to his bed was a small dresser drawer that had a stuffed red dragon on it. Naruto started to rubbing the sleep out of his eyes and went to his closet. It was in a sense huge, having not only training gi and sandals but other things like different colored shirts, shorts, pants and shoes he's never seen before. Wow, I can't believe that this is all my stuff, he said admitted until he was tackled to the by a red blur. They both tumbled on the ground for a while until they finally came to a stop with Suki sitting on top of Naruto, grinning. She then got up and started to hug the life out of her twin brother. "Morning Naruto ni," she said while Naruto was struggling to breathe. "See can't breath, Suki-chan," he said trying to get out of her vice grip. "Suki let's go," while Naruto gains his breath back. "Hehe, sorry ni-san. I'm just happy to have my big brother with me," she said and hugs Naruto normally, who smiles and returns the hug. "Is Ka-san still asleep?" Naruto asked Suki, who she nodded. "Sman, let's go wake her up," she says grabbing Naruto's arm and leads him out of the room into Kushina's. Kushina was in her room sleeping when Naruto and Suki sneak in quietly. Suki told Naruto to go to the other side while she went to the other. She sees her mother, who was snoring quietly while drool was hanging out of her mouth. Lol, no wondered where did Naruto didn't sleep properly because of the snoring. Well, maybe. Suki put her hand over her mouth to hold in the giggle. She then climbs the bed as does Naruto. They look at each other and grin. They both breathe air into their lungs and pause for a while and then yelled out, "Ka-san!" Kushina instantly bolts up with her eyes open wide and screams. As she blinks for a while and looks down to see her son and daughter grinning at her. She then smiles at them and pulls them onto her lap. "How are my Kodomo children are doing this morning?" she asked. "Fine," they replied at the same time while she kisses them both on the forehead. She then looks at the clock and sighs. It was 10:30 a.m. So she gets up with her children in her arms. "Sman, you too. Once we eat breakfast, I'm gonna take you two over to Shisha's because I have a busy schedule today," she says while walking out the room with them. "Ka-san, are you the Kage of this village?" Naruto asks her and she nods. "Yes, I am. I'm the Godai Mukage, 5th Dragon Shadow," she answered and Naruto's mouth was opened. "So you and two-san were Kages. That is so cool," he exclaimed with a grin on his face while Suki grins too. "Yes, it is cool, but it's also a very tough job. I'm not only in charge of the ninja of our village but I'm also in charge of how things operate in our village," Kushina replied with explained, but then cries inwardly. Not to mention all that paperwork. How did Minato-kun get it done so fast? Then her chibi form ranted crying anime tears while doing mountain loads of paperwork. Meanwhile Kushina's eyebrow twitched, but it was noticed by Suki, who giggled. Naruto saw this and asked, "What's so funny, Suki-chan?" He asked his Imuato with wondered, while his sister points to Kushina. Ka-san's eyebrow was twitching, meaning she's going nuts about paperwork, but doesn't show it. Suki explained while Naruto blinks. "Is it that bad?" Naruto asked while Suki's grin grew about their mother's or Kage's worst nightmare and arch-nemesis of all Kages. She almost killed Joji, uncle, when he accidentally slammed the door, causing all the paperwork that she finished to scatter all over her office, and it took 15 Ambu to restrain her. She answered while Kushina blushed in embarrassment. "If only I can find a jutsu that finishes the paperwork," Kushina mumbles while Naruto rubs her back. "Don't worry, Ka-san. I'll help you to find a way to get rid of that evil paperwork," Naruto says while he puffs his chest out, getting a light laugh from his mom. "If you do that for me, Sochi, then I'll be forever in your debt," she said, kissing the top of his head. "Ka-san," Naruto whined while she and Suki laugh at him. So once they had breakfast, they got changed and Kushina, Naruto, and Suki were heading for the Hayabusa compound. Naruto wore a dark blue long-sleeved kimono and hakama pants that had white dragons and white flames licking the bottom of the hamika pants and the sleeves. He also wore dark blue socks and black sandals. Suki was wearing a red kimono with sakura petals and blue birds on them. She also wore white socks and red sandals. Kushina was wearing her cage robes which were white and black and wore a cage hat that was also black and white and had the kanji, long, dragon, on the front. Under them, she wore a red and black ninja outfit with arm guards and a black collared flak jacket with black sandals. She was wearing the cage hat on her head so that the sun wouldn't get in her eyes, and she was holding both her son and daughter's hands while being flanked by 4 Rambu who were wearing dragon masks with H markings on them, but the markings were different colors. The captain wore a hooded white cloak that had a black dragon on the back while the subordinates wore black cloaks with white dragons on them. Under the cloaks they wore dark blue uniforms and strapped to their backs were katanas. As they walked through the village, Naruto saw the civilians and shinobi either smiling or bowing to Kushina and her children when they walked by. Kushina smiled and waved at the civilians and shinobi as did Suki and Naruto. Naruto knew they respected him and his family because of their clan and their mother being the cage, but he wanted to earn their respect just like his mother and father did. When they reached the compound, guarding the gates were 2 ninja wearing masks that covered half of their faces, black Junin shirts and pants, dark blue collared flak jackets, and black headbands with the symbol of a dragon on them. They noticed Kushina, her children, and the dragon Ambu coming towards the compound. When they stopped at the gate, the 2 guards bowed. "Greetings, Yukage-sama, what brings you to the Hayabusa compound?" one guard asked while she smiled. "You may raise your heads, Jonins. I'm just here to drop my children off since I'll be really busy today." "Is Shija and Yu-chan is here?" she asked while they raised their heads. "Yes, they are here. Jo-sama already left for the meeting you called. You also said, children, Yukage-sama. I could have sworn you had only Suki-san," the second guard asks while making Kushina sigh about it. "To make a long story short, I just found out that my son was still alive for the last 6 years. Everything else will be explained at the meeting," Kushina answered while the guards looked at Naruto for a while and then back at Kushina. "We understand, Yukage-sama. Would you like for us to escort your children into the compound?" First guard asked, getting a nod from their leader. "Yes, I must be going now," the Yukage said and kneeled down to hug her children. "Stay on your best behavior, you too. I'll see you both later." Naruto and Suki hug her back. "Okay Ka-san, come on Naruto ni," Suki said and led Naruto past the gate and towards the compound while one of the guards walked behind them. Kushina got back up and then looked at the Ambu. "Let's go," she said in an authority tone while they nodded and the 5 of them shunshin to the dragon tower. Meanwhile, the guard escorted them into the compound which was similar to theirs but was a little smaller. As they walked through the compound, they saw Shija teaching you some new hand seals and how to chant incantations. The guard did a small cough getting their attention and they see Naruto and Suki grinning. Shija motions the guard to leave who nods and shushins away. Suki runs over to Shija and hugs her, while she smiles and returns it. "Hi Shija Obasan," Suki greet while the woman laughs lightly as they release each other. "Hello Suki-chan," she greet back and noticed Naruto who looked nervous, making her smile grow. "Don't be shy Naruto-kun, come give me a hug," she insisted in a sweet tone. Naruto walks over to her with a small blush on his face and she gives him a hug. Suki sees Yu who had a small blush on his face ran over to Yu and hugged him, making the young dragon turn red from the contact. Shija releases Naruto who was smiling at her and she looks over to see Yu red from Suki's hug. "Ah tilde how cute, Yu's already formed a crush on Suki. I can't wait till he's older. The teasing that I'll do to him and her will be priceless," she thought while Naruto saw this and asked. "Ano-sa, Shija Obasan, why is Yu red? Is he sick or something?" Shija looks at the confused look on his face and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Just like his father, as well as with Kushina. "Yu's fine Naruto, he's just a little embarrassed from the hug Suki-chan gave him," she answered while Naruto looked at Suki who was leading Yu out their backyard by the hand while Yu was redder than a tomato. "So, he's shy?" Naruto asked as they went to join them while Shija nods. "You could say that, now let's go join your sister and Yu." Shija replies. Dragon Tower Council Chambers Kushina was now sitting in a chair in the council chamber. On her right was Joe Hayabusa and on her left was the captain commander, Sotecho, of the dragon Ambu, Arashi Kazama. He was 5 feet 11 and wore his mask on the side of his face revealing his face. His eyes were light grey and he had jet black hair that stopped to his shoulders. There were also the elders who gave Kushina suggestive advice, and the shinobi and civilian council. Yukitsama, is there a reason why you summoned us here? One of the elders asked. Kushina looks at him and nods. Yes, there is, and the reason why I summoned you all here is because the true heir of the dragon clan has returned. She answered with announced, getting shocked looks from all of them when one of the civilians spoke up. Pardon me for saying this, Yukitsama, but I thought your daughter was the true heir. The civilian merchant asked and Joe spoke up. That would have been the case, however, when me and my group went to Konoha to get more supplies, we found her firstborn being beaten by civilians and shinobi. He answered. Kushina had to suppress the murderous intent she wanted to release after hearing that while the members of the council's eyes widen. Would you be so kind as to start from the beginning, Joe-san? A shinobi member asked and he did. After hearing the story, to say they were pissed would be an understatement. That was when one of the shinobi members spoke up. Those bastards. How dare they? Yeah, who does that fool of a Cage think he is lying to our leader about her son's so-called demise? Lying to a Cage, interfering in a foreign clan's affairs, and denying the boy his true inheritance. Question mark. Those actions are considered acts of war. After all the things our village has done to help them, they do this. Something must be done and they must pay for this. Another elder yelled out. This kept on for 10 more minutes until Kushina slammed her fist into the desk. Silence, she roared, and they went quiet. She then breathes out a sigh and starts talking. I understand how you all feel. Believe me when I say that I too am pissed at what Konoha has done to my family, and I assure you Konoha will pay for their actions. She stated, before continue. But the question is how? I will leave that up to you because right now, I'm tempted to go to that village personally and raze it to the ground. As her eyes flashed a golden yellow color which made everyone in the tower including the hidden ambush shivered. That's when one of the business members spoke up. I suggest we punish them financially by increasing the amount of exports and technology we send to them and the other villagers in Fire Country and double their profits. He said while tilting his glasses up with his index finger. Kushina nodded at his request and looks around. Anyone else has suggestions? She asked, and a shinobi member who was a kunoichi spoke up. The high-ranking missions they trade for hours should be temporarily null and voided until you decide to drop it. The same with the bodyguards for the fire daimyo, stating that he can only request a minimum amount of our ninja, and if he asks, tell him to have Konoha explain. I'm sure they would be more than happy to explain why half of his bodyguards are being sent back to us, and I'm positive our daimyo would agree to your reasons since you two are good friends, Yukitsama, and will demand why Konoha lied to you about your son. She replied with a sick smile on her face. Another shinobi member looked at her with wide eyes. Akira, that is so evil and underhanded. I like it. He said with a grin on his face, and she rubbed her nose with her finger. Thanks, Kaiser. Akira replied while a dark smile appeared on Kushina's face. I like that idea too, Akira-san. Kushina says, and that's when another elder spoke up. If I may ask, Kushina-sama, since your son is one of the few survivors in your family's clan and has the dragon bloodline, doesn't he fall under the village's CRA? He asked before continuing with explanation. I mean, it's a fact that you can't have any more children due to the fact that you had some complications when giving birth to your daughter and son. While Kushina looks at him. We're not trying to force him into any marriages or anything like that, but since he is the only male in the village who possesses the true dragon bloodline, he falls under that law. No one will interfere with who he wants in the clan. I only request that he has at least 3 or more future wives before he turns 18. How does that sound? The elder asked, insisted. Kushina looks around the room and lets out a sigh and replied. Fine, I will agree with this, but Naruto gets to choose his own wives. How does that sound? Kushina asks and gets a nod from them. Before she add in her finishing sentence. But, I did found one, before Naru-chan told me about her. Quote, all the council was curious, as one of them spoke. So, who is she? Well, a daughter of a friend of mine in Konoha. Kushina answered. That made the council surprise. Who? Kushina smiled for the answer. She is the first friend Naru-chan made, before her mother took her away from him for protection before I told him. And even we keep in touch for ourselves to make sure. Until Joe, shocked and surprising, he started to remember the conversation. Kushina-sama, you mean, are you talking about? Yup, she is, Kushina replied, had her smile more. So during the rest of the meeting they discussed about the QB who was sealed inside her son and why she attacked Konoha. After that, Kushina had an ambassador along with 5 Ambu sent to Konoha to deal with the trade and business deals and informed the dragon daimyo about her son still being alive and what Konoha has done to him. Needless to say, the man was not happy and said that he would be informing the fire daimyo about this and sending back most of the dragon Inyong he hired as bodyguards sent back into the Hayabusa village ninjas ranks to teach the country a lesson on what happens when they mess with the dragon lord's family. Naruto got a chance to visit the man and his family, and the daimyo couldn't help but be impressed with Naruto's strong will. He would definitely become a great dragon ninja in the future. Uzumaki compound . It was night and Naruto was currently in his bed asleep. Naruto felt a small pull into his mind and found himself in front of a large cage which had a paper on it that said seal. Naruto walked up to it, and when he was close enough he heard an angelic voice. "Hello kid," the voice said, which made Naruto freak out. "KQB?" the blonde Namikaze asks and saw a pair of red-slitted eyes appear from the other side of the cage. When the figure revealed itself, Naruto couldn't help but blush at the sight. She was 5 feet 8 and wore a red kimono that hugged her hourglass figure and had flawless ivory skin that gave her the appearance of a goddess. She wore ruby red lipstick on her lips and her hair was crimson and stalked to her mid-back. Canines jutted from her upper lip and she wore ruby red nail polish on her nails and toenails. What really shocked him was the fox ears on her head and 9 red tails that swayed behind her. Naruto just walked closer to her and looked up at her angelic face. She looks down at him and couldn't help but see how cute he was. She knelt down to meet his eye level and smiled. "Hello kid, we finally meet. I'm sorry if I haven't contacted you sooner, but I had just woken up after being sealed into you and I saw what your life was like for the past 6 years, and I have to say that I'm sorry for what has happened to you. No one should have to suffer like you did, and I hope that you can forgive me," she said in a downcast voice. Naruto looked at her and saw the sorrow she had in her eyes. He reached his hands out at the cage and grabs her right hand. She looks up at him with a surprised expression on her face as he rubs his hands into hers. "It's okay Q, I know you must have had a reason for attacking the village, and I know you're not a bloodthirsty demon who destroys everything," he said while she pulls him into the cage and hugs him. "Thanks kid, but you call me Kurumi, and yes, I did have a reason for attacking your village. You see, I sensed an evil presence that was very powerful. I don't exactly know its true location, but while I was searching for it, a man wearing an orange mask and a cloak with red clouds on it used the power of his eyes, which were red with 3 tomos on it, to cast a powerful genjutsu on me, which caused me to go berserk and attack the closest thing that was in my sight. That was your village, or former village. Your father, the 4th Hokage, used the Shikifuan, Dead Reaper seal, on me and sealed me into you. I've been in a deep sleep for the past 6 years and woke up when I felt my yokai healing your body," she explained while Naruto digested the information into his brain. "I see. Say, Kasan said that I had a bloodline based on the dragons. What does that mean?" he asked. Kyuubi thought about it for a while and then looked at him. "Well kid, that is true, but it won't activate until you turn 7. You have 3 forms of this bloodline, that is body, chakra, and sight. Your body and sight form will come first, in the year after that your chakra form will appear." She snaps her fingers and a statue of a dragon appears. "That kid is the form of your bloodline. When you gain all 3 forms, you'll be half human and half dragon, meaning your speed, strength, stamina, 5 senses, and intellect will increase when you get older and you stop aging at the age of 20. I'll explain the rest when you are older. Now off you go kid, you have to get some sleep," she says, and he is pushed out of his mind. Naruto smiles and snuggles into his pillow. "Good night Kurumi Nichan," he whispers to himself, and hear a "good night, kid," from the fox. The next day Naruto was eating bacon, eggs, and pancakes with his mother and sister. They kept eating until Naruto spoke up. "Hey Ka-san." Quote, "Yes Sochi, what is it?" Kushina asked. "I just got a talk to the QB last night." The blonde answers and she looks up at him. "Really? What did you talk about?" She asked curiously and listened to her son explain everything. After that, she stopped eating and had a thoughtful expression on her face. I see. So, she was searching for an evil presence that was somewhere near Konoha but ended up being put into a powerful genjutsu by a masked man wearing a cloak with red clouds on them and had red eyes with 3 spinning tomos in them. Sounds like the Sharingan copy wheel eye. It figures that the Uchiha clan would be behind this. She thought while Suki and Naruto looked at her and she looked back at them. Listen up you two. I'll be training you after breakfast. Joe and you will be joining us, Kushina said while the servants came and removed the dishes from the table. Then she gets up and they follow her to the training dojo. She goes into a closet and pulls out 2 training gis. One was red while the other was dark blue. She hands the red one to Suki and the other to Naruto is dark blue. Go and put those on, and meet me outside the compound, she said while they leave the dojo. Naruto and Suki were out of the compound to see Kushina wearing her red training gi. Joe was wearing a white gi and Yu was wearing black. Alright, now that Naruto and Suki are here, we'll start out by doing 5 laps around the village and after that we'll take a 5-minute break for water. Once we are done with that we'll go to the wilderness and practice on stealth and hand-to-hand combat. You'll be learning the katas from our clan's fighting style. Naruto, I'll help you with them since Suki already knows most of them, she said getting a nod from her son. When we do that for 2 hours, we'll take a lunch break which will consist of vegetables, fruit, and meat. Next, we'll be doing weapons training and chakra control. You'll learn how to climb trees without using your hands, water walking, and kunai balancing. Once that is finished we'll head back to the compound and you'll start on your studies, meaning you'll be learning geography, math, science, and history. Quote, by next year, you'll be learning the basics on the human anatomy, how to make your own medicines with herbs and other plants, and you'll be doing some survival training afterwards, she says and pulls a scroll out of her gi and unrolls it. And unseal a pair of ankle and arm weights via puff in front of you, Suki and Naruto. Put those on and keep them on, so that you can get used to the weight, Kushina orders and they do that. Okay, are you all ready? Quote, they nod for understanding. Good. Naruto, stick with you and Suki since they know their way around the village, Herka-san, Naruto says and they run off with you taking the lead. The sun was rising over the mountain and Naruto, Yu, and Suki were returning back to the compound with a sweaty Naruto carrying a panting Suki on his back. Kushina saw this and ran up to her children while Joe approached Yu whose gi was soaked in sweat. Joe gave him a white towel and a glass of water which Yu took and gulped down and then took the towel and wiped the sweat and dirt off his face and here. Are you okay, Suki-chan? Kushina asked as she removes her daughter from Naruto's back and sets her down and gives her a glass of water. Suki nods and gulps the cool liquid down. Kushina then gives Naruto one and he drinks it also. After the 5-minute break, Kushina takes Naruto to one of the sparring mats while Joe takes Yu and Suki to the other sparring mat. Okay Sochi, this is a fighting style that's been in our clan since the founding of the villagers. It's an ancient and powerful style that only the Uzumaki and the Hayabusa clan can use. It is called the Teneki no Yujin, Heavenly Fist of the Dragon God, Kushina began to explain. The Teneki no Yujin has 4 forms. The first form is based on evasion and counterattacking. It's basically a defensive style where you use your opponent's strength against them and is used to disable and not kill. Grapple and submission holds are used in it as well as palm strikes. High-level reflexes and senses are needed for it to work. We also call it the Hishoyu, Soaring Dragon. The second form is based on breaking the opponent's bones and causing external damage. Power and speed are needed for it to work and it too disables but rarely kills unless you go for the neck bone, nose cartilage, skull, or backbone which is also the spinal cord. The knees, elbows, fists, and feet are used in this form and it's called the Kibatsuyu, Striking Dragon. The third one is the most deadly form of the Teneki no Yujin. It's an assassination form that is based on killing the opponents by striking any of the 8 vital parts of the human body. They are the lungs, liver, jugular vein, clavicle vein, brain, kidneys, spinal cord, and heart. It can cause both internal and external damage to the person and also shatter bone and destroy internal organs in an instant. It's called the Satsujin no Yu, murderous dragon. The final and most powerful form is called Daiguren no Ryujin, great crimson lotus of the dragon god. It is a combination of the first three forms put into one, and only someone who has mastered every form can use it. She finished explaining. Have you mastered every form, Ka-san? Naruto asked while she nods. Yes, I have. I was 18 by the time I fully mastered it, she said, getting an awe look from her son. Now we'll begin with the Hisho-yu and Kibatsu-yu. I want you to mock my form and movements, she said, and performs the katas for the Hisho-yu. Naruto watched and copies her movements. Remember, Sochi, this is a push and pull style. Keep your muscles relaxed and your senses calm, and your breathing steady. You want your movements and energy to flow when you are fighting, she says while pulling her arms and fists back and then pushing them forward into a double palm strike, and Naruto does the same. Like a river? He asked while his mother nods. Yes, Sochi, like river. Now I am gonna make my movements a little faster and I want you to try to keep up, she says, getting a nod from her son, and they increase the speed of their movements. Kushina, however, couldn't help but be impressed with how fast her son was improving. Incredible. He's only seen the first form for only a couple of seconds and he already understands its principles. It took Suki 2 days to understand it. If only you were here, Minato-kun. You'd be proud of both of your children, she felt impressed about her son's great knowledge. Suki, you, and Joe were watching this and couldn't help but be amazed. Suki was happy, but was a little jealous at her brother. He understands it in only a few seconds while it took me 2 days, she commented with a pout while Joe chuckles. No need to be jealous, Suki-chan. It's probably his way of learning, the white dragon replies while Yu nods. I agreed, even though it took me 4 days to understand the first form, Yu said in a joking manner while Suki playfully punches him in the shoulder. Quiet, you, she says while he rubs his shoulder. They trained like this for the rest of the week and Naruto starts to improve until he was at Suki's and Yu's level and starts to spar with them. Kushina was very proud of how well they were progressing and couldn't help but think about how strong they will become when they're older. Only time will tell. 2 years has passed since Naruto reunited with his mother and twin sister. He's also become good friends with Yu. They would always talk about being the strongest ninja in their village and would practice their katas in the Uzumaki dojo. Kushina helped Naruto improve on his writing, math, geography, and history. They knew both tree walking and water walking and were also good with kunai and shuriken and knew a few C-rank jutsu that Kushina and Joe taught them. They also learned the basic sword katas for the Hitain Mitsurugi and know the basic forms of the Tenakin no Yujin. They're also learning archery, and how to use other weapons like the bow staff, kusarigama, scythe, and other weapons. I will update the Hitain Mitsurugi from one of my favorite stories. Right now the three were in the backyard practicing their shuriken and kunai throwing on a dummy Huwa as the target. Joe was watching their progress while Kushina was at the tower working on some paperwork. When word got out to the villagers that Kushina's son was still alive and how he was treated in Konoha, they were furious and demanded retribution from Konoha. Some even wanted to declare war on the village of Konoha, but Kushina informed them that Konoha will be paying for their actions and that she and the daimyo will be dealing with this. While Joe was watching this, an Ambu with a black dragon mask on appeared kneeling behind the man. What is it, Ambu? Joe asked, and the Ambu looked up. Sir, the Yukage sent me here to tell you that Ayame-san and her daughters are here. Also Shiza-san has brought over Kureha and Momiji, he says, and Joe looks over his shoulder at him. Let them in, he approved, getting a hair from the Ambu who shunshins away. Suki decided to take a small break while watching Yu and Naruto continue to throw kunai and shuriken at the practice dummy. They then ran out of shuriken to throw and looked at the dummy. Looks like we are tied again, Yu, Naruto said, and Yu nods, seeing the results that all targets were tie. It seems so, Yu answers while they pull their throwing weapons out of the dummy. Suki sighed for seeing her brother and Yu for the challenge and gets up. After all, they seems their accuracy is 100% or less hit the target. Are you two done showing off? She asked with an annoyed tone, while the two ninja in training rubbing the back of their heads sheepishly while Suki had her arms folded and was tapping her foot on the ground. Yes, we're done, Suki, so you can stop complaining, Naruto said in a whiny tone and had to move sideways from a punch his Imuoto tried to deliver to the side of his head, and he tripped her foot, making her stumble and hit the ground. Suki got up and rubbed her nose and glared at Naruto, who gave her a raspberry, and a tick mark appeared on her face. She was about to charge until Yu had her in a full Nelson or strangle and kept her from trying to attack Naruto, who was making faces at her. I'm gonna kick your butt, Nii-san, Suki exclaimed while her legs flailed in the air. Yu was struggling to keep her at bay until he saw a wasp which landed on his nose and he turned pale. Gah, a wasp! I hate wasps! He cried out and released Suki while running around, waving his arms and hands around frantically while the wasp got off his nose and flew away. Suki realized she was free and grinned evilly at her brother, who was now sweating bullets. She then started to crack her knuckles, which caused Naruto to take a few steps back. And then he bolted off with Suki on his tail. Come back here, Naruto, and take your beating like a man, she yelled while Naruto yelled back. I'm only 8, you dumb redhead. What? I'm gonna get you. For that I'm gonna knock you into next week, she cried out while Yu was watching the yellow and red blur run around the practice field sighing. Joe, who was watching sweat dropped at the scene. They're definitely Kushina's kids, alright, he mumbled, and then saw Naruto, who was dodging her wild punches and kicks while grinning at her. Hold still, Baka, so I can hit you, she screamed out while Yu sighed. At times like these, I'm glad that I'm the only child, he mumbles to himself. Suki tried to punch Naruto again, but he vanishes, shocking her, and appeared behind her. Before she could do anything, Naruto started to tickle her sides, causing her to cry out in laughter. Hehehehehe, Nii-san, stop. Hehehehehe, I haha give haha up, she cried out while she continued to laugh out. Naruto stopped so that she could breathe and glared at Naruto, who just smiles at her and she ruffles his hair. Suki, don't do that, he cried while she grins. That's for calling me a dumb redhead. You do know that Ka-san is a redhead too, right? She asked with reason and made Naruto pale and laughed nervously. While that was happening, 5 figures appeared from the back of the compound. They were Ayame, Shisha, Ayane, Kureha, and Momiji. Ayane was an 8-year-old girl with purple hair that stopped near her neck and also had ruby red eyes. She was also wearing a purple ninja gi with butterflies on them. Kureha was 10 years old. She had black hair that was tied into a ponytail, brown eyes, and wore what looked like a white and red SHR in maiden outfit. Momiji was 8 and also had long black hair that is tied into a ponytail which started on the top of her head. She had clear hazel brown eyes and wore a white and red ninja gi. Ayame was wearing a white and blue kimono and had long brown hair and light ruby eyes. Shisha was holding both Momiji's and Kureha's hands, while Ayane was holding her mother's hand as they approached the heirs and heiress. Jo-kun, Shisha calls out. The white dragon turns around to see Shisha with the other females walking towards them. Naruto, Suki, and Yu make their way towards Jo and the others and stop next to the man. Suki sees Momiji and Kureha and waves while they do the same. Ayane was hiding behind Ayame, who was sighing. Hi Suki, Momiji says, but then notices the blonde, and asked, who's that Suki? That blinks Suki about her question and looks at her brother and shrugs. Oh, it's just my Baka of a brother, she says while Naruto face falls, and then gets up glaring at his Imuoto. Both sisters' eyes widen when they see the blonde, who just laughs nervously and walks towards them. Hi, I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, he greeted, introduced, and they bowed their heads before the true heir of the Hayabusa clan. Naruto blinks at them and then speaks up. Oh, you two don't have to bow to me. They then look up at Naruto with shocked expressions on their faces. But Naruto-sama, you're the true heir to the Hayabusa clan. It would be disrespectful of us to not, Kureha insisted, only for Naruto to interrupt her. Ma, you don't have to be so formal. I'm just a kid like you two are. And to me, respect is earned, not given, he says while placing both his arms behind his head. The girls just stare at him when he says those words. Aside from that, I would like us to be friends. Naruto said, grinning while their faces returned to normal and they smile at Naruto, who holds his hands out for them to shake, which they did. As a tint of pink appeared on Momiji's face though. After shaking their hands, the sisters went to go talk with Yu and Suki. Shizue walks over to Joe and kisses him on the cheek. Yu sticks his tongue out in disgust and turns his head away from them. Naruto looks at the other woman, who smiles at him as he walks over to her and bows. "Hello, I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." Ayame bows back and speaks. "Hello Naruto-kun, I'm Ayame Tenshin." Naruto smiles back but then notices a tint of purple hair peeking out and then hides behind Ayame again. "Hey," Naruto said as he leans over to the right. Ayame notices this and giggles. "Oh, where are my manner? I haven't introduced you to my daughter." "Come on out, Ayane-chan. There's no need to be afraid," she said with a calming and soothing tone. The girl then walks around slowly and appears in Naruto's line of vision. "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. Ayane-chan is just a little shy," she said while Naruto nods at her. He approaches the timid girl and holds his hand out. "Hi Ayane-chan, want to be friends?" Naruto asked, and she looks up at his grinning face and a small smile appears on her face. "Sure," she says in an almost quiet tone. When she takes his hand, he takes her towards the others. Ayame saw this and she was happy that her daughter made a friend, but was sad due to the fact that she was treated like a plague in the Mugen Tenshin village and everyone there kept their children away from her. The only two in the clan that associated with her, other than Ayame, was Hayate and Kasumi. Yukage Tower Kushina was currently sitting with the daimyo of Dragon Country with two of his samurai guards flanking his left and right side. The man was by no means weak-looking, somewhat angular face and phenomenally developed physique. He had a build that would make any warrior proud, and he also wore a blue battle kimono with arm guards on his forearms. He wore a floor-length, white cloak with a red collar on it, black pants with European-styled boots, and he also had long black hair that was tied into a ponytail. Hiko Seijuro 13 from Rurouni Kenshin or Samurai X. Closing parenthesis. Welcome to the Hayabusa village, Seijuro-sama. I've prayed you had a safe trip here, she asked while the man nods to her question. Yes, it was, Kushina-san. Now on to business. You stated in the letter your Rambu sent me that an important situation came up in the village, he said mature while she nods back. Hey, do you remember when I got married to Minato Namikaze, who was the former Hokage of Konohagakure, and we were going to have twins? Kushina asks, getting a nod from the man. About the marriage years ago. Yes, I was there to witness the marriage between you two. Why? Seijuro wondered. Kushina sips a cup of green tea and continues. Well, you see, sir, when I was preparing to give birth with twins, both of them, on the other hand, the village was attacked by the cube. I know, Yoko, she finished while the man's eyes widened. Why would one of the guardians of nature attack the village? Did Konoha do something to provoke the fox? Seijuro asks and she sighs. That's what I wanted to know. Apparently, she was in Hai no Kuni searching for an evil presence that worried even her. When she was doing that, a man wearing an orange swirl mask and black cloak with red clouds on it caught her off guard and casts a powerful genjutsu on her using an eye that I believe was the Sharingan. Quote. She paused for a moment so that he could absorb the information and spoke up again. Apparently whoever did that was a member of the Uchiha clan, since only they have eyes like that. It resulted in her going into her berserk state and attacking the first thing she set her eyes on, Konoha. During that attack, my late husband found a way to seal Kyuubi by summoning the Shinigami and sealing her. But the cost of summoning the god of death was your souls, so Minato-kun died during the process, Kushina said, and had to hold back the tears she was feeling. But Kushina, how did he seal the Kyuubi into? Seijuro asked about that, and Kushina sighs in frustration and speaks up. He sealed the Kyuubi into one of our children. One whom the Sendaime said he died during the process. He was the first one born, and he spent the last 6 years in that village being beaten and spat on by those ignorant, short-minded fools, and it's taking all my willpower not to declare war on that foolish old man, she said with answer in a dark tone while clenching her fists under the table, not realizing that she was slowly releasing ki, making the samurai nervous and the daimyo to raise an eyebrow. Please, calm down, Kushina, he said while she breathes in and out to subside her temper. Forgive me, Seijuro-sama. I didn't mean to, she started to say, but the man waved his hand in dismissal. Think nothing of it. So what is the name of your firstborn who was treated like that? Seijuro asked. My son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the true heir of the Hayabusa clan. She answered, causing the man's eyes to widen on shock. Hiruzen Sarutobi lied to me about my son's so-called demise, and let those fools in Konoha treat him like a criminal. He not only lied to a cage of another village, he interfered in a foreign clan's affair and kept the heir from the clan in a hostile environment. Pardon my language, sir, but I cannot forgive that son of a bitch for what he's done, and every civilian and ninja in the village are demanding retribution for this, and if Konoha doesn't make a response for their actions, then I have no choice but to declare war. The council has already decided to increase the prices for trade, exports, and economical goods, and I'm already prepared to send Ayu and Yong, who are working as bodyguards for the fire daimyo back to the village, she explained while Seijuro lets out a sound and rubs his chin in thought. The man looks back at her and a small smile appears on his face. I agree with those terms, Kushina. Send a message to the daimyo of Hai no Kuni stating that you, with the permission of the dragon daimyo Seijuro Hiko of Yu no Kuni, are summoning the dragon Anyong that he's hired back to the Hayabusa village. I want your council to double the price for trade, exports, etc. that go to Hai no Kuni's ports. If they have a problem with it, then I'll have both the Hokage, his advisors, the fire daimyo, as well as you and your advisors come to a private summit here, and we can discuss their actions against your you'll have my back in this, Kushina. And personally, I believe that Konoha needs to wake up to reality, since they believe they are the strongest village. Perhaps in the elemental nations, but not here. Not to mention that nearly all of my samurai could take on a Junin to ANBU level Anyong. He said, declared, and Kushina smiles and bows. Thank you, Seijuro-sama, she says, and he smiles back. Think nothing of it, Kushina. Your clan and my family have been comrades since the beginning. I would like to meet your son someday. Perhaps I'll see him during the Chunin exams in a few years. Well, I must get going. I have a ton of paperwork waiting for me in my office, and if I don't deal with it, my wife will not let me hear tea. End of it, he says while cursing like a sailor in his mind. Kushina lets out a small laugh after hearing this. Same with me, only Suki-chan will pout and berate me for not finishing it on time and not coming in for dinner early. Naruto, however, is a mystery when it comes to me and my duties. He'd just look at me and blink, then walks away. I tried bringing them both with me to show them what I do, and they fall asleep most of the day. She commented and explained with a grin on her face. Seijuro laughs at that and shakes his head that admitted. As fun as this, I have to get going, Kushina, he says while getting up and walking out the door with his samurai flanking him. Give my regards to Haruka-chan, she says, and he waves his hand back as a response. As soon as he left, Kushina pulled out a scroll and started writing in it. 3 minutes later, she seals it up and wraps a black ribbon on it and snaps her fingers. An Ambu with a black dragon mask appears and kneels before Kushina. Yes, Yukitsama, he asked. Have this message sent via messenger hawk to the daimyo of Hai no Kuni, she said, holding the scroll out, and the Ambu gets up and takes the scroll. Here, he says, and vanishes. She looks at the clock on the wall and it says 5:30 p.m. She then takes off her cage hat and places it on a hat hanger. She then removes her robes, wearing a red and black Ambu battle suit, and walks out of her office. She sees her secretary putting some files away and speaks up. I'm leaving, Reika-chan. Take care of yourself, she said, and Reika looks up at her and smiles. You too, Yukitsama. Kushina nods back and shunshuns out of the dragon tower. Meanwhile with Naruto and Yu has it. He was chasing Naruto, trying to tag him, but the blonde was too fast. Come on, Yu. Are you that slow? Naruto exclaimed, and Yu growls and adds chakra to his feet to increase his speed. Naruto stops at a tree and turns around to see Yu grinning, and he leaps at the blonde. Gotcha, he yells. Naruto leaps over Yu flying form while the young dragon in training crashes into the tree headfirst. Naruto lands on the ground and sees Yu's form slide down the tree. He then clutches his face in pain and glares at the grinning blonde, who takes off into the woods, and Yu gets up chasing after the blonde. Little did they know that two shadowy figures that looked like demons were watching them. So, that blonde boy is the true heir of the Hayabusa clan, as well as the Yukage's son. Let's kill them along with the other children. The one on the left stated. But we must proceed with caution. The white dragon and his wife are close by. The one on the right said while the other nods and they vanish. Equals at the compound equals. The girls were sitting in a circle talking while Ayame was talking with Joe and Shisha about Ayane. I can't take her back to the Mugen Tenshin village, Joe-san. Ever since Rado attacked me and Ayane was born, everyone, even certain members of the clan, look at her with disdain and it hurts me. Oh, see them treat her like that, Ayame said as a few tears fell from her eyes. Ayame continued. Shiden has tried to reason with the members, but they refuse to acknowledge her as an heir to the clan since she carries the blood of a traitor in her veins. The villagers even pull their children away from her because they don't want her to infect them with her taint. It's only a matter of time before one of them decides to kill her and I can't let that happen. Quote, while Joe and Shisha looked shocked, Joe's face returns to normal and speaks up. I see, he said and looks at Ayane who was laughing with the other girls until Naruto leaped out of a bush and into the middle of the circle panting, scaring the girls. Ni-san, Suki cried and Naruto was about to say something until a black blur named Yu tackled him and they were now rolling around the ground wrestling while the girls jumped away and watched as Naruto and Yu were fighting dirty. Shisha and Ayame laughed at the scene while Joe sighs and shook his head for couldn't help. That was when Kushina appeared next to Joe wondering what's going on until she saw Yu and Naruto glaring at each other with dirt and scratches on their faces while being held back by Momiji, Suki, and Ayan. While Kureha tried to be the peacekeeper. Kushina sighs and Joe chuckles at this. Alright your kids, let's go back inside.